Hey TV fans, Bored Now back with you. On this video I'm going to be talking about the Penguin episode 6. The episode is called Gold Summit. Full spoilers from the start of this review in case you haven't seen the episode. And it's a really good one because I liked last week's, but last week's was a little bit of a slower episode at times. Maybe just felt like an episode that was just setting the table for much bigger things. So probably by the standard of the season, it might have been seen as a lesser episode. But I think this picks the standard right back up if there was a little dip. And it just builds so much momentum. It's sort of carrying 3 separate plots in many ways, or at least plots that are going on separately but have some link to the main picture. And it just handles them so well. And the way things escalate in the rivalry between Oswald and Saphir and now Sol, who of course she has gone in an alliance with to try and wipe Oswald out, and just that rivalry and the whole way it links to what's going on with the gangs in the city and how it builds to the dramatic end of the episode. It's just all what handled so well, and that rivalry it's really being set up now as the big end point for the season, and there's just so much riding on this stuff. It's beautifully done. So I'll start with that stuff. There's also some tender moments in the episode which I really appreciate, like with Penguin and his mother. But I'll start, as I said, with the drug stuff and the rivalry, because at the start of the episode, business is really booming for Oswald and his gang, and they've been doing very well off the bliss. Obviously, he rediscovered that base from his childhood in the last episode and said, this is where we're going to grow the stuff now. It's also can be like a hideout. So things are going very well at the start of this episode. So as retaliation for that, the Marconis, so Saphir in particular, they kill off a bunch of Penguin's men to really stem the tide of that. It's also revealed later on that a local councilman has been gotten to by the Maronis, and that he has shut off the lights in the city, and that leads to some great visuals in the episode because it really just adds to the stakes and the tension, and it just looks really cool, everything being done in pitch black. But at one point the Penguin goes to that councilman and threatens him and forces him to put the lights back on. But I just like all the manoeuvring back and forth and all the different tactics, and how when one person or one side ups the game, the other side reacts in kind. So I really love that stuff, and just how much is riding on everything. So what the Penguin does then is he starts giving the drug away for free, so it becomes more valuable, and it all leads to this big end scene where he gets together all the various gangs in the city, including the Triads, which he's not particularly on good terms with. We've seen the actor out of Lost who plays the head of the Triad. So it's after he's got the lights all switched back on, and he has this big meeting, and he tries to convince them that it's in their best interest to work together to try and get rid of the Maronis, because they're out to get every one of them. And it's one of these speeches where there is some degree of truth to it, there is some honesty to it, where he's saying, sure, I've got my demons, maybe you can't trust me at times, and he's honest about the rivalries and the heat between all these different gangs, but he's saying it's better if we all band together because we've all got the same end goal, and we can all, if it's all of us together, we can take out the Marconis. So he does this rousing speech, and most of them seem to be taken into it. It's a very charismatic speech, but the one who isn't is like the head of the triad, who's very cynical, and he starts telling them, hey, remember all the stuff this guy has done to us, and eventually he gets him on side. But you get this fun visual of like they're all raising beer cans in unison, and like popping the cap off the top of it and raising the beer can, and eventually by the end of it they come together and decide to form this alliance. But there's some more stuff with Sal and with Sophia. I like all their scenes in the episode. Obviously both of those actors are really good actors and they work together. It's just another fascinating layer to this show, them deciding to form this duo. There's quite a nice scene of them cooking dinner together and just discussing the various tactics and what's going on. And another thing they do in the episode is they break into Penguin's apartment because of the lights out and because they've moved to a different base. The Penguin has fled his home along with Vic, along with the mother. He's gotten Vic to take the mother, and that happened last week. But again, it's this idea that they're probably not safe where he is. So they break into his home to look for something that they can have on him. And they find the photo of Eve, who's the girlfriend, who of course last week made the decision that, hey, this is too dangerous, I'm going to stay here. But she seemed to still be saying, oh, I'm still your girlfriend, I'm still loyal to you, but this is just the right thing, just stay here for me. So it leads to this excellent scene with Eve and Sophia, where Sophia goes to see her, and they just have this great standoff and a little bit of a heart-to-heart, even though they're like adversaries, and Sophia is very threatening in the scene. But Sophia tries to talk to her on her level as a woman who's been like manipulated, who's been taken for granted. And because Eve is like a working girl, is like a hooker, then there's some relatability there. So, but for a long time in the scene, like Eve is loyal to Oswald and doesn't want to betray him and like give up where he is. But eventually Sophia talks her into it, and she does it by revealing that he knew who the hangman was, and sort of shows the whole portrayal in the past of how he portrayed her and the whole thing with the hangman situation. So that's what persuades Eve to like give up the location, and that leads to this really great cliffhanger, and that is where you've got a scene with Vic and the mother, with Oswald's mother. I forget the name now, but Vic has been taking care of her throughout the episode, and again there's some quite tender scenes with them because she has this on-off dementia, and at times she confuses Vic for the Penguin, so he kind of has to fill that role a bit, and it leads to this end scene when they're dancing to one of the records, and it's the record which she would dance with Oswald, and they're having this nice little moment. But the kick at the end of the scene is that Sophia just appears in the side of the shot. It's a really well shot scene, and she's just there in the background watching them and just waiting for a moment, and that's just the cliffhanger. That's like, oh my god, what is she gonna do exactly? Is she gonna kill one of them? Is she gonna kill both of them? How are they gonna get out of this if they do survive? Is she gonna kidnap the mother, which you might think would be a natural like strategy, maybe kidnap the mother, kill Vic? But it's a great end to the episode. It really is a fun little cliffhanger at the end of the episode. And Vic also has his own little subplot here, and that is because the Squid, who's the guy he was in the gang with like in the past, who we saw briefly in the last episode, he has started poking around, and he wants in on the Penguin's business. He finds out that Vic is doing very well with the whole Bliss thing as part of that, and he wants in, and he wants a meeting with the Penguin. And throughout the episode, Vic is kind of like keeping him at arm's length until he can sort things out. And there's one scene where he's going to talk to the Penguin about it and bring it up, but he kind of decides not to in the moment because the Penguin has other things on his mind, and he just doesn't quite have like the bravery to go through it and say, yeah, hey, this guy's sniffing around, he's being a pain in the arse. And he might have been worried a bit about how the Penguin would take it because he's associated with the guy, that being Vic. So it just leads to something which again is very satisfying, because when Squid tries to turn the tables on him and threatens him that, hey, if you don't give me this meeting with Oswald, then I'm going to expose both of you what you're doing with the drugs. And just instinctively, Vic shoots him dead, shoots him a couple of different times, and that's perfect. I like that Vic is the one who's actually confronting this. So it's a great misdirect, and he doesn't tell the Penguin, and then he just sorts the problem out himself. That's like a really good character beat for Vic. And he has a strong episode. Like I said, there's some good stuff with the mother and Vic in this episode, and then him sorting out the Vic issue as well. So, yeah, I think it's a really good episode. And now with just 2 episodes left, it's building things up very nicely. So that is the Penguin episode 6. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you've seen the episode, like and subscribe as always. Share me out on social media. You can support me at patreon.com/borednow for just $1 a month. Or you can sign up as a channel member, 3 different tiers with a range of perks across the 3 tiers. And there'll be a link in the description to this video, or you can find it on the membership page on the channel. But keep watching TV, and I'll see you guys again soon. Goodbye.